All right, guys, so he's asking, how do we start this? So we're just going to start
it's
it right
already
now.
rolling, eh?
We're rolling. All right, so this is a different kind of video for you guys. I want to do something fun and different. So this is my friend Brandon, where you guys have seen him actually on a few videos, right? You've been in a couple of my...
Very few, yeah, for a second.
He's a little camera shy. All these young guys, man, they're so camera shy. Nonetheless, in 2018, Brandon here is deciding to start his own landscaping business. So I wanted to do a video for you guys who are a little bit younger, maybe 18 to 25, and we're talking about starting your own lawn care business, starting your own landscaping business. So I got a litany of questions. We have actually talked probably every day
for an hour at least.
At least an hour a day. Yep. Every day for, I'd say, a month.
So far?
Yeah, and this has been starting for years. You've been working with me on and off for a decade.
At least,
like,
yeah.
Like literally.
Ever since you got moving with your business, yeah.
You were like my second employee after my brother.
Yeah.
I had to fire him. He didn't work out. So he wanted to watch soccer at like 2 in the afternoon, and that didn't really work out. I was like, we got work to do. So you were, Brandon's actually my neighbor. Like at my mom's house, you live 2 houses down. Yep. I've seen him grow up from 4 or 5.
Since I was running around in diapers.
Yeah, literally 2 years old, and I was, 10 years old or whatever. So how old are you?
I just turned 25.
So he's 25. So Brandon's been doing concrete now for the last 4 or 5 years.
7 years. Yeah.
7 years. Make good money.
Yeah, decent money.
Decent money, not bad for your age. You got a really cool truck.
Yep.
You got a nice Chevy 1500 lifted. It's a sweet truck. But you're excited about making the jump, making the leap to being full-time, running your own business, starting a landscaping company, and you're just kind of, this is what you were telling me, but you were sick and tired of being sick and tired, right?
You highly tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah, this guy right here, he works out, he could Hulk smash, but he's just motivated, he's just fired up, and wants to take control of his future. And so I want to just do a video for you guys. This one might be a little bit different pace than you guys are used to. It's more of an interview, so you know what, you can always revisit this video later on when you guys are chilling on the couch and you got 20 minutes to spare, because I wanted to just kind of go through the thought process of where Brandon's at, the questions that he's been asking me, maybe just give you guys some encouragement, some tips. Because you've been learning all this.
It's all brand new to me.
Yeah, it's all brand new to him, but the questions he keeps asking me, it's taking me back a decade going, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember this. And
it's always the same process.
It's the same thing. So hopefully for some of you guys getting started in business, you can use this as a reference tool to maybe have that encouragement to start your own business, right? It's right now January like 8th or 9th.
8th or 9th.
In 2018,
yep.
Right? So we're going into the spring here, about 3 months. All right, so there's a couple things I want to talk to him about. The first thing was, I did a video recently talking about if you don't know answers, you got to find them out on your own, right?
Yeah.
What have you been using for information to learn the business?
Honestly, a lot of the stuff that I've gained my knowledge on would probably be Google and YouTube. That's been huge. YouTube especially. There's a lot of good landscape guys out there that know what they're talking about and know what they're doing. And a lot of these guys really go into detail on what's got to be done.
How much YouTube right now are you watching on landscaping, lawn care, brick pavers?
On average?
Yeah.
Honestly, because I'm going full-time with this, so it's kind of real scary.
A couple hours a day?
All day. I'm on the phone, learning with my accountant or calling mentors like you.
Yeah.
Or just on YouTube and Google, just looking at all the different stuff. I even sit there for hours a day and take notes,
yep.
To really engrave this stuff in my head.
He was telling me that he has a legal pad just with notes for like mulch, just like little tips and tricks and little nuances and little suggestions and just stuff to remind you, so you have like a reference sheet when you start doing all this.
Yeah.
Is it creating a headache?
It's a huge headache.
Some days. Are you mentally drained by the end of the day sometimes? Learning.
Usually I have a headache about noon.
About noon.
Because I'm up. I still get up. I treat it like it's a full-time job. 7 days a week I'm up, 6, 7 o'clock learning this stuff, because it's almost that time of the year where it's going to start coming down, and I don't want to be that guy that's last minute rushing around with my head cut off, I guess you could say.
It's there's no better time to start a business than any other time, but what I would say is that you're totally allowed to take advantage of the off season. A lot of you guys in the winter have 3 or 4 months off of a job, or even if nights and weekends, you're just consuming this kind of information to get educated, so that way when the season hits, you don't have time to learn all this stuff in March and April. I know you're going to get baptized by fire, you're going to dial things in, but you have to know more than the customer, I think is what we always say.
Right, yeah.
Enough to sell and get this stuff figured out. And we're going to talk about learning the trade, we're going to talk about branding, and we're going to talk about the next 60 days, right? This is the part where you're racking your brain on.
Yeah.
This is stuff where you're like, there's a certain plant and there's 8 variations of it. I only do lawn care and the maintenance side of things, but you want to do the landscaping stuff.
Yeah, strictly landscape.
So what's some good resources for you on that? Same thing, just YouTube and Google?
You know, honestly, with Google, we're all different learners. So like some guys are the type that need to sit there and watch a video like you guys are right now, or the guy that needs to sit there, do the research on his own, read through everything, take notes. Me, I'm more of a hands-on kind of guy, so I like being in the field to learn.
Yep.
But you know, taking notes and watching your guys' videos is what's really helped me.
One of the guys that me and Brandon have worked for in the past last 2 years is a guy named Craig. Craig's Landscaping. He's got a good business in the area. We've learned a lot from him.
A lot of stuff.
I mean, we made good money working for him. When I wasn't working on my own jobs on Saturdays or Sundays or weekends, or he had some jobs where he needed some extra help, both of us, outside of your concrete job, you'd pull in your 40, 50 hours a week, and on Saturday we would go help Craig knock out bigger jobs together. You and me were probably driving Craig mad, let's just be honest. Like, we were asking him, why are we planting it this way? Why are we doing it this way? Why aren't we doing it that way? And we worked with him learning landscaping for the last 2 years. So it's not something you're just jumping into blind, you know, but nonetheless, it still took some time to ask all those questions and invest our weekends into learning the business. So that's one thing that you had said that I always encourage people to do is maybe before you start your own business, you can always shadow someone, model, get coached from somebody. Go work for $10 an hour, learning whatever business you're trying to do. Work for free, and the education is going to be the stuff that profits you later on down the road.
Definitely.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about the next part, which is branding. So a lot of you guys spend an enormous amount of time on this, and that is getting all your ducks in a row for branding and marketing. So over the last couple of weeks, you have been creating a logo. You've been creating your art files, your postcards, your business cards, all that fun stuff. That's probably the most exciting part of the business, because you get to create your name.
Especially when you get to see your logo and how it turns out.
Yeah. All right, so I've given you some encouragements and some suggestions. What have you done so far? Like, what are you using? A website, or did you have a friend make a logo? What are you using right now?
Honestly, I just kind of went online and got some ideas of what I liked, what colors I liked, the font, stuff like that.
Took screenshots?
Yep, screenshots. I went on Fiverr, actually, and found a designer on there.
Which is what we use. I use that for both of our YouTube channels. Anything we use, we always use Fiverr. I'll leave a link in the description.
Yep, and that's who Brian actually referred me to, that he said he used himself. So I linked up with the guy in there, looked at some of his work, and, you know, it was kind of the style I was looking for. So I went ahead and did that with him, and he kind of tweaked everything and made it how I wanted everything to turn out, and it actually came out really nice, and I'm happy with it. So that's what I used.
Most of these guys are going to ask how much. How much was it to create a logo and to create an art file? You got to make sure you know what you're looking for on there. So you're always going to want the transparency. You're always going to want the JPEGs. You want a social media packet, which is always cool, and then the vector file, which just trust me on all that. That's what you want. How much was that gig?
I think I paid, it was like $78 with taxes, but you know, you get what you pay for. That's something that you want to represent your company. You know, that's kind of like,
you don't want to be cheap.
Right.
You don't want to have somebody design your logo for $20.
Right.
Like, I know a lot of you guys, just like we do, we have friends that, oh, I'm good at Photoshop and I'm good at this. That's cool, but just trust me, invest $75 would be the best investment you make. I'll include the artwork and the photos, everything that he got done from Fiverr. Were you happy how it turned out?
Very happy.
It looks really classy, man. If you put that on the side of a truck, it definitely looks like that's what you wanted to do, by the way. You wanted a really professional looking.
Exactly.
All right, so also talking about branding, you got your logo created on Fiverr, and now you're going to take that to a local print shop.
Correct. Yeah.
And now you're in the next phase, which is postcards, invoices,
business cards, T-shirts, signage for my trailer.
Yep.
Maybe a sticker for my truck, you know.
Yep. So what are you thinking? Do you got some good ideas laid out? Same thing, you do screenshots from other templates you've seen online?
Yeah, I'm just kind of going off stuff I've Googled, really, and looked at on YouTube for examples. Kind of took everything into consideration, and I'm going to design something on my own, really, and see what the lady can do for me at the print shop. The
best thing I can always encourage you guys is when you're trying to come up with a logo or artwork for a graphic designer, give them some ideas of what you currently want. Like, if you like this kind of postcard, but you don't want this, this, and this on it, that's great. You can create a little Frankenstein postcard together, You know what? You can do this on 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, or include 7 or 8 screenshots. I do the same thing. I'm going to be doing signage for my trailer this spring. I've already got probably, like you were saying, 10 or 15 screenshots of designs that I like, or certain things I like out of each design that I want incorporated, and then they'll merge that all together and make something that looks the best for what I want. So you were doing the same thing with postcards. You're going to use my local print shop, Perfect Impressions. They do great work. Not necessarily as cheap as a Vista print or something like that, but we both enjoy supporting local small business owners and dealing with a human. You know what I mean? So that way you can get the work done and have that back and forth with revisions, making sure it's exactly how you want it to be.
And that's a good point there too, is even like when you go to create your logo, like some of these guys, it'll state in there like allowed up to 3 revisions, and then you got to pay, you know, this additional fee to get something revised, and that's if they even consider it. But the guy I went with, he had unlimited revisions, and that's why I kind of gave him ideas, because I mean they're kind of running a business too, and you don't want to give them the headache like, hey, like I need you to tweak this, or I want you to do that, or this doesn't look right, so I want you to do this. Or like you're just not getting this aspect of what I want. But if you don't give them something to see and visually look at,
give them a concept.
Then, if they don't have a concept of what you want, then it's just going to make their job harder, give you a bigger, it's going to make their job harder, give you a bigger headache, and it's just going to make the process way longer than it needs to be. So
it's actually funny that you said that, because I think I told you that, right? Because at first I think you said you wanted, you're like, I want some like orange and some green, and I'm like, that's all you got, or whatever.
Right, and that was a big help too, because you know this guy, you know, you're thinking one thing in your head, and then you relate it, and through a text, you know, you're not giving him something visual, so he could say, okay, I get what you're saying, but then he throws it and create something way different than what you visioned in your mind. So
absolutely, that's a huge one right there. I mean, that's whether that's selling to a customer or you trying to communicate to somebody, trying to paint that vision in somebody else's mind. Everybody's got their own filter, and they're not going to see it how you do. So that's a great way to save time in this whole process and not have to wait 3 weeks to do revisions after revisions. Half these people get mad at you because they only want 3, and you're like, you know, I just want it to look cool, and they don't know what that means, right? And that's I've approached things like that. I'm sure you have. So that's really, really cool. All right, let's talk about another aspect of the business, the dry stuff, the business stuff, like the taxes, the accounting, setting up checking accounts, registering your business online. You had a funny story with going downtown with Pontiac, which you didn't have to.
Right.
So you got to, if you're going to run a business, again, this is all the back end stuff, the stuff you don't want to be worrying about in season, right? From March to November, you need to be selling and doing work. This is all busy stuff. This is stuff where the first week of April, you do not want to be running to your local bank and opening up a business account. You should have had that done 2 months ago. Right. So with taxes and accounting, you have a family friend that does all your guys' taxes. Are you going to be getting together with him over the next week or two, learn some things?
Yeah, because that's the thing. There's still a lot I need to learn. So I kind of want to kick this stuff in the butt this week coming up here. Get together with a business attorney. I need to find out what I can put on contracts with an attorney that's not going to put me in a courtroom or getting fined. You know, people coming at me and filing a lawsuit. Stuff I never considered as being an employee, but as time goes on, you kind of learn.
The older you get.
Right,
the more you want to protect your family.
Yeah, and the more you read into stuff, you know, you're like, wow, well, I should consider doing this. Because I'm not here just for a season. I'm going to do this, you know,
for a while,
grow this business right. So I want to do it right and be as professional as I possibly can about it. So
I always say when I do videos like this, try to begin with the end in mind and work backwards, right? Like I read a book once that talked about Sam Walton, the way he structured Walmart. He's so far saved his family $16 billion in taxes and estate family taxes, whatever you want to call it, by the way he structured Walmart. Having the foresight, knowing that 50 years from now, his company will be worth $500 billion. So if you're starting your business thinking it's only going to be a 50 grand a year business, you need to make 50 grand a year investments and decisions. If you think you're going to make a $5 million a year company, you need to invest and make decisions based on the fact that 5-10 years from now, you may very well be at that level. I'll tell you guys straight up, outside of making sales and running the business and not being lazy, the one thing that I always see get people in trouble with a cash-based business is taxes. Taxes. And I could do a whole segment on this on another time, but I told him the one thing you got to be diligent about is that all the money you make is not yours. And when you go from being an employee, having your taxes withheld, to being a business owner and having to pay quarterlies or at the end of the year, all that money is not yours.
Right.
And it's tough because you're just emotionally driven the way most of us grew up, with cash being so cool that you can get $1,500 from a landscape job, and you drive down to the local rims and tire shop place and they have a set of cool rims for $1,500. You think 1,500 means 1,500. Unfortunately, that's just not how it works as a business owner, right? And I told him, look, if I can give you any one piece of advice, don't mess up your money. I've been fortunate enough to handle our money decent, not the best, but pretty decent. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm still in business, profitable and making money a decade later.
Thankfully, my grandpa, he owned a business for over 20 years, and he kind of led me.
He was successful.
Yep, and he led me to this accountant and attorney. And that's the thing too, is kind of don't like go out and just choose somebody because they might not manage your money depending on your goals in life and what your business is. And that's the thing too, is like sit down and figure out questions to go in and ask these people.
That's a great point.
And
talk to them about that for a minute.
Right.
Because do you have a notepad full of questions?
At home I do, yeah. I actually do.
So talk about that. Every time we talk, why does it always turn into an hour and a half long phone call?
Because, well, that's the thing, is once you start learning and expand your mind more behind the business, you're going to come up with questions that you never thought you'd ask yourself. And that's one thing that I've really gotten strict on too, is like, that's why we have phones, or like keep a pen and paper with you, because I could be, let's say I'm working out or I'm out shopping, and especially right now, this stuff's constantly on my mind. So take notes. You know, if something comes by your mind, don't wait like, oh, I'll write it down when I get home. Take it down in your phone right then and there. Whatever you're doing, stop.
Notepad on your phone.
There. And then that's the thing, is when you write down a question, I end up writing down like 5 more questions. Yep. You know, it's just how it goes.
One thing that I was joking was that when we have a phone call conversation, you always call me for one question, right?
Right.
Hey, quick question, right? And it's always the same.
And then it leads to 20 other questions.
And then it's an hour and a half later, and you're like, how does that even happen, right?
Right, yeah.
Because I end up answering, and by the way, I'm not a hero. It's just I've learned a lot. I've read so many business books and studied so much on YouTube. I've just consumed data for a decade. And I'm just further along, and I can pour it back, and it feels really good to do so. And it's funny because you'll ask one question, and I'm like, yeah, well, have you considered this? We talk about insurance,
yeah,
right? So we talk about workman's comp and liability and just
disability, stuff like that.
Dude, so it was like a domino kind of a question. I'm like, look, dude, I'll be honest with you. Do you have an hour? He's like, why? I'm like, because there's no way I can respectfully answer your question unless we're going to talk for an hour. And he goes, yeah, I got time. So boom, I sat in my truck. We were talking on the phone and answered like 17 questions. You didn't even know were questions. You didn't even know were related to it, right?
Right.
And that's where a coach and mentor can bring this stuff out of you and pour into you with good info. And you might ask one question thinking it's really a good question, and we already know what you're trying to ask.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, here's what you're really trying to say, and here's how it relates to this, and this. And sometimes when a mentor is a talker, kind of like this guy, you'll get good info. Seriously, I mean, that's the one thing I would encourage you guys. I didn't find a good CPA until 3 or 4 years into my business. And by the way, like you were saying, with your uncle being more successful, the guy that's my CPA, he owns 21 Little Caesar franchises. The guy's a multi-millionaire outside of his CPA practices. So I knew he would also be understanding of what it's like to be self-employed. Right. It's the same thing when you're talking about getting started in business with a DBA or an LLC. Those are things you got to figure out. But if you don't figure it out in your first year, it's not the end of the world. But again, begin with the end in mind, I guess is what we're trying to say.
Right.
So let's talk about the next 60 days. What's the most exciting thing you're figuring out? What's your next 60 days look like? What are you trying to figure out most next?
Right now, I'm trying to figure out, because I want to be as professional as I can be. I'm trying to figure out how I need to like write contracts, you know, stuff like that, or how I'm going to write up my estimates, billing, you know, stuff like this. I've never billed people.
Which I need to do. New. I need to do a video on Square for you guys. I love Square. It's what I use for credit card processing. You got to figure out how you're going to present to your clients. If you're going to use like an iPad, if you're going to do drawings, if sketches, if you're just going to make invoices with, you know, an estimate and a bid sheet. You're figuring out all that stuff right now.
Oh yeah.
You got to get your postcards and your marketing.
Yeah, I still got to do all the marketing stuff. Which I said, I just got my logo back, so I plan on going within the next, probably not this week. That's more going to be accounting and talking with my attorney, stuff like that. And probably setting up the business account through my bank. But yeah, the following week I plan on going and sitting down with somebody to start getting ideas with business cards, flyers, postcards, signage, stuff along that line.
What are you going to do your first year? What are you going to do your first round? Any ideas?
As far as what?
Postcards, signage, Facebook ads. I'm going to do a video on this later, by the way. I'm just curious what he's going to do.
Me, I'm going to be doing business cards, obviously, postcards, flyers.
Yeah.
That's about it for now. No social media stuff. This is my first year. To me, it's not really needed.
Yeah.
But I just want to get my name out there as much as I can. But it's just something about your comfort zone. It's, you know what, I do a lot of reading now. I never could have.
That's a good point. Let's talk about that one for a minute, because this guy has consumed more business books in the last 6 months,
Not even.
maybe 4 months, 3 months, since last October, November.
Yeah.
Than more books you've ever read.
My whole life.
Your whole life, easily.
I hated reading in high school.
Everybody
I'd
hates
sit down and I'd open a book and they're like, all right, we're going to do a test on this. And I'm like, okay, like, give me a test.
Just take the
whatever. Right.
Just stick the, yeah. So I know there's like this societal joke about reading books, and it's almost like a badge of honor if you've never read a book.
Oh, yeah.
Let me ask you this. Do you feel more equipped or less equipped after reading just 5 or 6 business books that I've suggested to you in the last 2-3 months?
Highly more equipped.
Do you feel like you have a better chance of making, not that 100 grand a year is like a lot of money, it's not, but is 100 grand a year more attainable to you now with your own business after reading 4 or 5 good books than it was before?
I'm going to do it my first year. I'm going to make 100 grand. So
to see the confidence. That doesn't mean reading books is good, doesn't mean reading books is bad, but there's a reason you're not further along in life. It's because you don't know certain things and I'm not practicing certain things. Typically habits, typically thought processes, and you need to read good books. And I've got them in my Amazon store. Oh, here's a plug for the Amazon store. Guys, I make like $1 if you buy the book. I couldn't care less. I'm doing this for you guys because these books had such an impact on my life. They're having an impact already on your life, and we know the content that's inside them. Do I agree with everything all these people say? No. But you know what? They're still a good resource for you to learn how successful people are successful. And in any business, in any industry, those same business principles still apply. And that's what you've been learning. Now you're reading a book a week.
Yeah.
A book every 2
weeks. On average. About a week and a half.
I've got the audiobook link in the description. If you guys want to sign up on Audible, you can start plugging good stuff in from Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, Robert Kiyosaki, all these different people. All right, so here's the last part of the video that I know a lot of you guys really enjoy hearing this kind of stuff, and that is the part where you want to know what really set you over the edge. Okay, so like this is actually not part of our question list, but off the camera I said that would be a really good question. Off the record, what was the thing that triggered you to get off the sidelines of you, if you will, of life and get engaged? Because you had good money, you're making good money, you have a good job, probably good job security.
Right.
But what's the next step? Why do something different? Why are these guys deciding to start their own business? What would you encourage them? What was it for you?
If it's a thought of yours that you've had, I would definitely say go for it because it's the best feeling I've ever had. I've done concrete the past 7 years, and as some of you might know, it's miserable work, especially in the summer months when it's humid, hot.
Oh, yeah.
Working your butt off. Getting called every name in the book, you know, and you know, even the owner, I've had a conversation with him because I was 6 hours short on a check, and he just went off the handle on me. He started dropping F-bombs, and I'm like sitting there like, this isn't right, you know, like you shouldn't be talking to me this way. Granted, you know, I'm here and you're there, but it's like I'm making you here. So one of the guys making you up here, and I honestly just hung up on the guy because that was kind of the drawing point for me.
I remember you calling me.
Yeah, I think I did call you that day or something.
You're like, I'm doing landscaping full time. I just quit my job. I go, what? I mean, he's like, well, technically you got laid off.
Yeah.
Right, but you're like, I'm done. I'm not going back.
I'm not going back, and that's the thing too. Is I've always thought of and told Brian is like, hey, well, maybe I'll start a business this year. And that's the thing is I've been talking about it for so long now.
4 or 5 years.
I've been drawing this thought into my mind is like stop being a little girl.
Stop being a little girl. So there's a chapter in one of Grant Cardone's books. I like Grant stuff.
Stop being a little bee.
Stop being a little bee. Stop being a little girl. And you woke up every day now. He wakes up. You got like on your mirror. Don't be a little girl today.
Yeah, I wake up in sweats. You know, like you're just a little bee.
Like freaking out.
You just got to do it.
Making other people money and not getting rich for yourself, right?
Right. Yeah.
Or getting more rich.
That's the thing too. Is like there's so much out there that you can do to make yourself money. We're capable of so much, and it's like, you know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to do what we do, but it's just like that thought of like getting out of getting out of a secure job and saying like I'm gonna make this happen, I'm gonna do it. And that's what it was for me, is just like taking all this into consideration, just being treated poorly the past, you know, decade of my life working in this industry.
There's an old analogy with the hound being on the front porch with the nail. You guys have heard it, like it pokes the dog and he whimpers, and you know, somebody asked the owner, why doesn't the dog move? And somebody said, well, it just doesn't hurt him bad enough. right? And the joke was to be the hammer that, you know, hits the nail into your bum and gets you to do something.
Right.
Because I've heard the same whimper for 5 years, and it stinks for me hearing it because he's a good friend. He's a best friend. My wife knows him. My family knows his family, and vice versa. I'd do anything for this guy. But I'm like, dude, you're literally selling yourself short every day. And I'm like, when are you going to get sick and tired? And I never said that to you, really. I was just like, one day I'm going to hopefully watch that snap and you freak out and be like, what am I doing? And that's almost where you got to get to.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too, is like, I like nice cars. I want a nice house.
Yeah.
You know, I like nice clothes. I like presenting myself.
Yep.
And that's the thing is like, all these other expenses you have when you get older, and I don't want to be the guy living check to check every week.
Right.
And you know, in the concrete industry, like all these guys are just miserable,
Yep.
and it's like they brush off on you. At the end of the day, I come home and I'm like, don't even look at me. Don't talk to me.
Yep.
And that's what I was getting sick of too, just all the negativity.
And you're growing up, you're waking up at 19, making $25 an hour, $30 an hour, $35 an hour. That's cool at 19 to 24, right?
Right.
But when you're getting older and you're realizing, dude, like I got to support a wife, kids, a family. You want a nicer home, and your life, your income fits here, and your life has to fit inside of that box. And as a business owner, I did a video on this on our second channel. As an entrepreneur, you can grow that box and you can grow your life, right? And that's the exciting thing. And that's when you wake up every day going, man, what can I do today? Versus what am I only allowed to do today?
And that's the cool thing too.
Talk about control.
Right, and that's the cool thing too about starting a business is if, you know, let's say everybody's goals are different. So that's the cool thing about starting a business is if you want to make 50 grand, you can reach that goal, not a problem, or expand and make 100 grand, 200 grand, 300 grand, or expand and, you know, start a different business and have somebody manage the other business for you,
right.
Grow that business. It's just
a whole different world.
Outcome, you know?
It's a whole different world, whole different game. Now, is it for everyone? I'd say no.
No, definitely not.
Definitely not. I always say there's an old analogy, right? What's the safest place on the planet? And it is a maximum security prison cell, right? You can't hurt yourself in there. But at the same point, it's also not free. There was no freedom being in there. And jobs offer great security, great benefits, 401ks and retirement, right? I get that. But you'll never make more than a certain amount that somebody else says that you're worth.
Right, and that's the thing with me too is like some of you might know the concrete industry is very hard in labor, and you know me, I work my butt off. I'm probably worth 200 grand from the neck down, but it's from the neck up where you make your money.
Absolutely, that's awesome right there. That's millionaire mindset right there. So I love it. All right, cool. We're gonna wrap this one up. You good?
Yeah.
All right. So this is my friend Brandon Boudreaux. We're gonna check in with him from time to time and provide some accountability.
Yeah, that give me a. We're gonna break me from being so camera shy, hopefully, right?
The same time next year, I'm gonna try to get him on YouTube to document his life, and then we're also going to check in with him time to time this year to see how he's doing. You'll probably see him on my videos whenever I get shorthanded. He's gonna help me out, and vice versa. So it's gonna be a good time. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed this interview, this just banter, this Q&A, do me a favor. Shoot a big thumbs up. You guys know he watches the videos. He's probably gonna check out the video too. And you got a YouTube account, right? So answer on this video anybody who has questions. So don't forget to subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. I know it's a different video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We'll cover some more topics on each topic as we go through this season. But I'm telling you guys right now, if the last thought I could give you is right now it's January 10th. It's snow. The last thing on your mind is lawn care. But that is going to be here in 2 months, and you got to start moving now. Right? I mean, you've got to start hitting it now. And this is all those questions that you're going through, you're learning, you're sweating every day, figuring it all out. But this is the time to do it if you want to start your own business by then. So, any final thoughts? Any final encouraging words?
If you're thinking of doing it, just do it.
Yeah,
honestly.
go for it.
Yeah,
Like the old guy used to say, just go for it.
Just like the Nike thing, just do it.
Like Nike said. I also like Grant Cardone, don't be a little girl.
Yeah, that's the biggest one. Telling y'all, don't be a little girl.
Don't be a little girl. That's going to be the title of this video. So, all right, guys, over and out. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys all in the next one. Bye-bye.
See you guys.